Everything looks good when it's wet. Damn, this thing grows on you. Can't wait to get them tires flipped around and the exhaust done. And well, there's a whole host of, oh boy. Well, got a bath, and it doesn't charge. I know the voltage regulator is stuck in a charging mode, but it doesn't charge. I know how to fix it with one of these. It's fixed. 13.8. Perfect. That's a handy tool. Well, okay, well, it's been a minute. Okay, quite a few minutes, because I'm just really not into putting out videos. This last week has been brutally cold. I have huge frozen thing problems at home and at my shop, and I could barely keep this place warm, and the furnace exploded. Yeah, that thing. And that exploded, which is a whole different video in itself, because I refuse to not revive it again, but I only need it for maybe a week. So it's got to make it one more week, and then it's going to be decommissioned. But before I get off the whole sidetrack of everything here, there's just a whole lot of things going on underneath this hood that I just really want to get into. Like, first off, why is it shiny? Oh, wait a minute. This was all dented up when I was looking at it before. This wing nut is not factory. It is a wing nut, but not a wing nut. So what I'm thinking is, at one point in time, because if you look up here at this insulation and how chowed it is, it went race car. So that explains a bunch. Now that does give you a little bit more performance, and it will increase your fuel economy, maybe a couple of miles per gallon, but if you're lucky. And you do get to hear the whoop that a little teeny 2-barrel makes. So there's a lot of things going on down here I want to look into too, like that funky balanced, well, it's almost a harmonic balancer in a way on the crankshaft air conditioning pulley, but not. It's not what balances the crank. So it actually has a balancer that is for a forged crank on it, but then it has this funky thing, and I've asked a couple of well-known YouTubers to step up and tell me things. The other thing, it's just turned into an absolute, I don't know what the hell that is. That is the giant cast W on a 2-barrel intake. Now, oh God, that thing is so gamey. One of the guys that I've known most of my life, my car life, since I was about 16, told me that this engine was a crate warranty motor. That's what he told. He said that's what that means. So I don't know. If the numbers are on the side of the block, then I'm going to go with a no and back to I don't know what the hell that is, and neither does anybody I've talked to. No one's ever seen a W on a 2-barrel intake, or on any other intake for that matter. So we're going to get into that. But the mechanics of everything going on here, the spark plug wires are older than time. I want to pull the spark plugs out, take a look at them, see if they need to be replaced, because some of them I did look at briefly and they look old. So old doesn't mean anything in my world. If they're clean, great. It does have a little bit of a stumble, and that's carburetor, but it just doesn't quite run right. So I want to check the dwell and the timing, and kind of just do what I do best, and which is tune. I tune this stuff, and so it runs like a Swiss watch. Every time, all the time. This thing starts in the dead of winter. I don't care how cold it is. Pump it twice, fires right up, runs on high idle. So that means the crossover is working because the choke pull off comes off. And so I'm pretty happy about that. It does charge fine, but I will be putting a shunt wire in this thing to save the wiring harness. There's a few other things that need attention too, and one of these things is you notice that these BF Goodrich TAs have the lettering shoved to the inside. Well, that's got to change. Also, it brakes were pulsing really hard, so it's got warped rotors, and so I would imagine I'll check them, and if I can turn them a little bit, great. If not, it gets new ones. Or excuse me, I said rotors. I meant drums. It's got drum brakes. So, without further ado, I do want to get this thing on the hoist and check get it up on the hoist and check the side of the pan rail and see if this is the numbers matching motor for this. It supposedly is. So, I don't know for a fact. So these are all little areas that I really want to approach on this thing and kind of bring you guys along for some exploratory surgery and finding out what's what and who's who. Plus, I've never looked at the underside of this car, so I'm kind of excited about getting it up on the hoist. But lately, everything has come in the way of me doing anything with this car. And today is one of those days. So I probably won't get very far on this today, but I'll be back. So, I'm sure this will end up in a video somewhere, but as you can tell, this has got some ugly fugly tape on the taillight, and it's got a boo-boo. So, I reached out on eBay to see what I could find, and of course did some shopping, and which leads me to the next thing, which I want to do a shout out to my buddy Dave. Yeah, packaged, well, wrapped, first, single box, double box. Oh God, that's just a whole bunch of sexy. Now, this is just in excellent shape for what it is. There's a few boo-boos. There's a little teeny crackoid right there, but I knew that. He was honest about it. He's a very honest eBayer. And I'm going to do a special shout out to CTC Auto Ranch in Denton, Texas. And I dealt with Dave Williamson. And if you guys need parts, this is the guy. He has got so much trim and taillights and marker lights, and just, I mean, it just goes on for days. This guy's got some premium stuff. He's got some, you know, not so great stuff, but it's priced accordingly. You know, the daily driver stuff all the way up to kind of showy car type stuff. What got me though, seriously, I mean, it was a really fair deal off eBay. He worked with me. I didn't really want to spend a ton of money, but he worked with me and I got this at what I feel is a very fair price. But what I wanted to talk about is his conscientious way of shipping things. First, wrapped in bubble wrap. Second, wrapped in cardboard for the first go around. Thirdly, put in a box so it could be dropped off the Empire State Building and not hurt it. I mean, you don't get that with every eBayer. I've got stuff from eBay just in a box, all rattling around in there and bouncing all over tarnation. You know, I mean, seriously. You know, I'm nothing less than impressed with these guys. So, just a 2.5 minute shout out to CTC Auto Ranch. You guys, if you need stuff, that's the dude. Note to self, to remember 1969, left hand side of car, left hand lug nuts. And I don't know why for the life of me they weren't replaced and changed to right hand. That is frustrating. I hate that. So, yeah, at some point, that will happen when I go to disc brakes in the front, which is going to happen more than likely. So, well, we're back. And the next mission is to pull these off. I just got the covers off and went and checked the tires, and I really hadn't paid much attention to them. I just saw BF Goodrich TAs in the front. Man, the back looked about the same, so I just assumed that they were, but there's a surprise coming. Anyway, so I tried to take these off with my trusty electric impact wrench, which usually rips anything apart, and it won't even move these brand new lug nuts on the brand new lug studs. So somebody went a little ape-to-dooey on that. So we're going to have to crank up the big compressor, which is a pain in the butt because our new lines aren't run down to the, it's just sucks. So we're going to kind of do a walkthrough on a lot of this here. Okay, so there's that back there, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a ton of stuff. But first things first, these guys have to come off, and I am running out of time. And I also noticed that there's really zero drag on this one, and the other one is super tight. Now that's going to affect the brake pedal to some degree, so we're going to have to look into that. This one's going to have to get set up better. That one I know is a warp rotor or drum because it gets hot, so that one needs to back off. That one needs to tighten up. I got the same problem going in the other direction too. And I don't, this thing is freaking heavy, but how heavy, I don't know. I reached out to Tom Hergerts. He hasn't got back to me yet on what the curb weight on this tank is. Now we're going to climb underneath the hoist here, go back here, take a gander at a couple things back here too quick. As you may notice that this exhaust tip and this exhaust tip are not centered anywhere close in the bumper, and both are going to go. I'm going to put different tips on this, and so that's how that's going to shake out. Not right at the immediate moment, but it might be in this video. I don't know. I have the tips somewhere. I have to go get them. And what I'm actually going to put on here is 1970 Dodge Challenger tips, and they're going to sit like that on the back end, only higher up, as much as I can anyway. So it's going to be cool. Yeah, so might have to replace those. You'll see. So we're going to talk a little bit about weight, because since I just brought that up, because we're going to talk a little bit about curb weight. Well, I went all over the internet and looking for curb weight, you know, what this Fury weighs, and was pretty damned astonished, because I thought it was really heavy on my hoist, but it's really not any heavier than what everything else that's been on this hoist. And pay no attention to Owen over there. He's just putting in a new overhead door, well, not new, used overhead door that I had to my paint booth because of our remodeling project here. So yeah, you just made it to YouTube, dude. Anyway, so where we're at here is this car weighs, from every bit that I can find out about, 3,900 pounds. And here's where things get weird. Okay, my Roadrunner, so my 72 Roadrunner weighs 3,900 pounds. Of course, it's a different body style, so it's just plain and simple going to be heavier. But my 70 Charger weighs 3,600 pounds. A 68 Charger weighs 3,300 pounds. So reality is, you're only talking about a few hundred pounds difference between those muscle cars and this Fury. In '69, the Fury was boasting about being 4 inches wider and being a luxurious car to own and everything else. But if you shove a big block in this thing will perform just like any B body. Roughly, Furies are supposed to be C bodies. Well, they are C bodies, but this is not that heavier. It may be wider car physically, but heavy wise, it's only like a few 100 pounds heavier than a B body in 69. Now my 70 Fury does weigh quite a bit more than this car does. That much I can tell you, because that car handled like a boat. This car handles like I'm driving a Roadrunner. I don't know why, other than the fact that I hate the fact it doesn't have, you know, sway bar in the front end. And these are really cool drum brakes too. These are the fin drum brakes. They're really cool. But I really would like to see disc brakes on this at some point. And this does not have a sway bar. And that is kind of sort of depressing. There's one other thing that I'm going to get into at the final part of this video, and we're going to go look at the whole underside of this car. But I wanted to talk about curb weight and what these other cars weigh versus what a Fury weighs, and so now you kind of have the idea of what's going on. Well, Mercury sure is talkative tonight, aren't you? That's what I thought. Well, this temporary garbage is about to go bye-bye because I got some coolness. So that's where we're going with that. So we'll be putting that on there. But I want to take steel wool to this back bumper and clean that all up first. So get all the grunge off of it. It's been washed and scrubbed, but it's still kind of dull. So double-aught steel wool is your friend when it comes to shining up chrome. And I know that little dent right in there, you can see it. I can easily push that out with my press. And this one here might be a little more complicated. I don't know how the hell to do that, but there's a dent coming from inside. Well, there was a dent put in here, and it put a dent here, so you got to push this one back and then push this one back the other way. And I've pushed it so many, taken these off and pushed so many out, it's unreal. When's like that? No can fix. Oh, there you go. So that's the end of that. And I can't hardly stand to look at these exhaust tips. And even Dave said that, yeah, Chinese. So, yeah, plus they're off. They're just not where they need to be. And I assume that whoever put these on here welded them in such a fashion. This one's sitting about right. But this one here is sitting low, so they just look dumb. And they're not centered in the bumper. So we're going to be after that. So I got some other things I got to do before that. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I'll be back. So, more fun things I have noticed that I need some attention with. This actually has like, it's just a piece of rubber or whatever. I got to try to see if I can find that, because it's mostly missing on most of the car. Or see if I can get this particular material and then cut it off and put it back on all the way down the side. Now I noticed that because I was thinking about painting this in here flat black, but then realized the other side had that, so I'd need to get a whole bunch of that and do this whole side, because I do want to do minor detail work like the Fury emblem. And around there with all that black paint is peeled off and just looks generally crappy. I want to take and redo that so that emblem looks like it's like originally did. Another thing that I noticed in the grill too is the headlight bezel's not the grill, but well, there's a couple of bent things in the grill I want to attend to, like that little whoop-de-doo there. I can easily push that back up and straighten that. But eye for detail, that's supposed to be all blacked out in here, and I want to go after that too at some point. But these are little side projects that I'll address later. And for the life of me, I don't know why a lot of these are painted body color, but this one is painted silver, this filler panel. So I'll come back when I get ready to put the front plate on here. I'm actually going to get a custom plate for it too, other than just the normal driving plate, but because I'll put a custom plate on it most of the time. I'll just switch it out. But this is all going to get steel wooled because it's really cloudy, and I'll take double-aught steel wool to that and clean that all up, and I'll get back with you when I get done with that. So I mentioned a couple things that I want to do back here. One is replace the poopy taillight, which I have in the trunk, and I'm thinking this is going to end up to be a whole different video all by itself. And two is get rid of those tailpipes. And this morning I went to the Roadrunner and removed the crustified artifacts from the Roadrunner. These are 1970 Challenger. Will actually clean up pretty good. They're just horribly crusty, but the chrome part will clean up good enough. And this will have to be sandblasted and painted and repaired, and I will probably have to put the pipe up to this and cut that part off. Yeah, it's going to be a lot more work than a 15-minute job, but I do happen to have a pair of these, and frankly they look pretty damn cool. Let's see if I can try to give you some idea. And they're not running on the frame rail right. This one's on the inside of the frame rail and the other one's on the outside of the frame rail, but oh, this is so impossible to do. But yeah, I'll give you some idea. Anyway, this is a topic for a whole nother video when I do exhaust work, because this is going to be a pain in the butt. Reason why: there's a provision for this to run next to the fuel tank, as you can see, maybe if this camera will focus. And there's the frame rail. Okay, so this goes inside the frame rail. On this side, they made it to go literally on top of the frame rail. So yeah, it all the way up in there. It's completely on top of the frame rail. I don't know. There you go. It's paralleling the frame rail just underneath it, and that's where the hanger bracket is. This hanger bracket is on the frame rail, but the pipe is way up higher. So this is gonna take a lot of bending, and in all honesty, at some point I'm gonna get rid of all this and go to a MagnaFlow system, but I just wanted to change the look and do some things and straighten out these, because I don't know if you can even see this, but you can clearly see they're not at the same level. You can clearly see this one is further inward, this one is further outward, and I'll tell you, that drove my son about half nuts. It doesn't do much for me. So in the meantime, I'm going to work on making backup lights work, clean up the rear bumper, kind of go along that lines. And there's so much grunge on the bumper, I'm going to take some chrome polish to it to try to clean off the scunge. But yeah, that's next after finish up with the tires. Well, getting the back tires off and got them over here to change them out, and I did promise a surprise. So we have good BF Goodrich TAs on the front, and we have Uni, Roy, and Al. So all those guys. Tigger paws on the back. GTS. That makes them go faster. I know that does. Hey, I found a good use for the crappy exhaust tips. Hat, gloves, coat hanger. Yep. So, bumper polishing. This is super cloudy. I don't know, you can see my reflection, but it's really super cloudy from my hand and all, and it's just really cloudy. I mean, all of it, just the chrome is so dull. It's got this scum on it, you know, that's just gone. And so I kind of wanted to show this because I got and you can see like the micro scratches. I don't know if that's going to show up in my camera. There's also a spot where I was looking for where this car was sold or where the factory sticker was, and I found it right here, and you can barely make out motors, but it was Adamson Motors. That was their decal. I've seen enough of them, so yeah, that used to be right there. So it was sold new in Rochester. Now the cloudiness and stuff is going to take a lot of polishing, but I do use a really nice product, and so I'm going to show this. And I did the top part of this, and you can already see just a radical difference. So I got to get a different angle on it, but yeah, it's, oh, there you go. Yeah, that turned out really good. Now the end of the bumper, one versus the other, look at the detail in my hand. I mean, you can see it's such a mirror, you know, in comparison to the other side. So take some time, you got to be patient. And I did around this area and around the backup light, and that needs to be a new one. Tom, I need your help. Tom Hergert's Rocket Restorations, he probably has that NOS part. I'm just saying. So again, if you go from, you can see my shoes in reflection here, and I just barely put one coat on there, and I haven't really done it that well yet. I tried to get that scratch out with some rubbing compound, and I thought it was rubber or something, and it's something entirely different. Steel wool maybe. I'll work on it. Oh yeah. Hat, gloves, rack. Anyway, you look on this side, you see, you can't even hardly see my shoes. I mean, they're just a blur. So we're gonna go there, and don't mind the dent. So there, in comparison, now here. So yeah, huge difference. You should see the front bumper. So speaking of the front bumper, let's go there. Okay, this is pretty much done. I spent a lot of time on it, and it looks pretty good as far as it's gonna look. I gotta give you a comparison here. I took my license plate back off. I haven't done this yet. So my front bumper looked like that. The whole thing looked just horrid. I had to take steel wool to it, knock the top layer of gook off there, which roughly, here's my steel wool. Of course, now I can't find it. I'm sure I put it somewhere where I wouldn't lose it. Anyway, so you take steel wool and you go over this, and if you got it, it's really bad if it's got really bad stuff on it, even after you wash it. It's the only, you can go back and get it wet, and SOS pad, which is soap, and a Brillo pad, and it's double-aught steel wool anyway. So that will take a lot of this rough stuff off. But you can SOS pad it, and then go with the polish that I showed you before. I use that on a lot of Harley parts and stuff like that. But so there's the before. Here, this corner is what the after is. So before, after. And the finished product, of course, is so damn shiny my camera freaks out. So see if I can get back far enough. And yeah, so it's going to present really nice. I am going to be doing my patina buff on this whole car. I do buff it, so everything from this body line down here will probably shine up really good. This will actually look a little bit more patina, but it'll have somewhat of a shine to it. All this down here will all be shined up like it's supposed to. Yeah, I'm even making the rust shiny. But all the streaks in the doors and stuff like that, it'll get rid of all that garbage. And then where you see primer bleeding through, you got to be really careful on that so you don't over buff. You know, you're going to leave it just a little dull because the patina, you know, there's a trick to doing this. I've done this before. So there's a real trick to it. You got to start out with more of a Super Duty compound to 3M Super Duty to kind of dig away the sponge first, then let it sit, and then go back on it with possibly perfect it, but don't overdo it. Don't over buff, okay? You don't want to leave buff swirl marks in the whole thing too, which that can happen. So you don't want to go there either. So don't bear down on it. Don't try to make it perfect. Just take a layer off. That's all you want to do. Take a layer off. I'll show you how all this works later on as time progresses and I have more time to fuss with my toy. But just in comparison to that, where you can't see anything, to a place where you can see your image, that's worth all the marbles right there. So getting pretty excited about this old buggy. She's coming along okay. I still got to straighten out that grill whoop-de-doo and straighten that bent one out, which that's because somebody overdid it trying to open a hood. But I'm pretty happy with this car. Tickled to death. Well, now that the rear bumper's polished, I haven't got to the taillight yet, but that's going to be probably end up in another video because this is going to end up way too long. I already got my rear bumper completely polished out. My light works above my license plate, which was great, but backup lights didn't work, and as you can see, I have a bit of a problem. Well, yeah, they're gonna have to come out of here, and I'm gonna have to try to fish the bulbs out and the wire out, and hopefully the spring isn't compromised behind the pad back there, and then I am going to clean these somewhat and acid dip them. The covers are just nasty. These are going to go home and do the hot soapy water treatment, and then possibly on the front of them I use windshield. Whoops, don't want to lose them. God damn, there's so much shit in there. These are really custom screws too. You don't want to lose those damn things. So anyway, on the outside it's all cracked up. It's not very good, but I'll just polish the outside of it with some windshield polish, and we're going to have to call it good. Because I think I found one on eBay, but I'm waiting for Tom Herderts to get back to me on that. But the next step is going to be pulling these out and seeing what's going on with them. So they unplug in the back. There's two screws up under here, one here and one here. Let's see if I can, there, right there. And they come right out of there really easy. I hope I don't have to get some, but if I do, I know a guy in Texas. So anyway, I'm going to get these out and look at them better. Well, so it seems Chrysler engineers did a wonderful thing. This thing comes out nice and easy, but the only way you're going to get this off is you have to take the bumper off, because they never left enough room for the bumper to get this thing out of here, and I have tried every possible combination you can possibly imagine. So I'm going to have to take that bolt out without wrecking it. Good luck. That one out, and the same one on the opposite side, and then the two bumper bolts that hold the whole bumper assembly. Take them out one side at a time just so you can get this out of here. And it's all rusty stuff. I mean, I don't know if you can even see. Kind of. Well, kind of. They're up in there. So, yeah. This looks like it's going to... Well, back to working on the front bumper. And I got it all pretty much polished up here. I'm going to go one more coat over the lower part of that again. But it looks pretty good. I haven't got to that whoop-de-doo yet. As I see, the problem is more that this is all dinged up and screwed up in here. So that's making this tip, and so pushing this up is really not going to do much. So I'm going to still try, see if I can push it up. We'll leave that little bad spot there. But what I was going to talk about here is I upgraded my front plate. Everything else is cool, but Minnesota, you don't need a front plate. So I decided to go with that. And if I get bored with that, I can switch to that. So I haven't decided which one I like better. Which one do you guys like better? Black plate or white plate? Well, I'm back, and I'm still, yeah, no, you can't see that, but anyway, it's cleaned off, and I was looking for a 276905, and maybe this thing's too bright for the camera, but it's there. So numbers matching, yay. So that takes care of that. Okay, so now we've proved all that. Looks like it's got some new ball joints that were done. It has a horribly leaky oil pan, and really hoping it's not the crank seal, because that would suck. Hang on a second here, I gotta put this down. Okay, so I don't know if it's the crank seal where the oil's coming from or the bottom of the oil pan, and I'm just really hoping it's the bottom of the oil pan and the gasket's just shot, which is quite common. I will probably try to tighten these up, but look at this scunge on this motor. I mean, Jesus. You know, the motor mounts are pretty crisp. Probably used to be replaced down the road. Just wanted to make sure they weren't broken, and they're old, but they're not broken, so they get to stay. This does have new shocks in the front, although I have no idea what value or flavor they are, or just generic. I bought them on something. I have to get with Dave on that, see where he got them and what kind they are, because I'm really not seeing anything. There's some numbers on there. Probably try to look that up on the internet and see what that means. But as far as the quality goes, better quality shocks. Also, I see there's a little moisture. I don't know, camera. Where do we put this? See a little bit of moisture on the shock? They could be leaking already if they were above his budget shocks. So they may have to get replaced. Now, I am going to take, there's your torsion bar screw, and I'm going to oil that up and grease it up really good, because they're really way backed off. Probably going to give them about 3 to 4 turns, and that's going to stiffen the front end up quite a bit until I decide where I'm headed with the whole sway bar thing, because I believe that uses a different control arm, because there should be like a sway bar mount right here if that was the case. So I don't know if aftermarket sway bar is an answer here, or just to scrap my 70 Fury and do the disc brakes and all that. But as you can see, that's a new hose too. So Dave did his homework here, and I expected that, because he's a really great mechanic. He's an excellent mechanic. Brake lines, they all look period correct and period rust correct, you know, but not that bad. So pretty much this is about it for me in this whole segment here. You can see right there the cobble job exhaust that's going on here with that muffler kicked way over like that. It should be parallel. It should be like this side. And I'll do away with the whole exhaust at some point. And see, we got an exhaust leak right there because they're clamped. But that's not a bad thing. My exhaust guy would take one look at this and say, throw it all away. So he might. I don't know. He might make some new parts. I see it was welded together here. So he might start here and somewhere over in here and make new pipes. And probably go with a larger bore pipe. I'm just not sure where he'd go with that. But he's very cool and very damn good. Hell of a welder too. But everything up in here looks the way it should look. Let's get some light up in here. You know, I mean, the gas gauge works flawlessly, and it's got a brand new tank, and we have a 741, the weakest rear end in this series. So yeah, I've got 742 rear ends, and I think I have a 355 gear set. It's still got the tag too. So I'd have to 276 gears. I'll be damned. Okay, well, so that's pretty much the scenario of this whole theory and where things are going to go with this. As far as other points of interest that need attention, I have to say that obviously got to fix the oil leak. I can't have it slobbering all over itself. So that's going to have to happen. In the inside of the car, obviously the heater core has some issues. So I got to get the wheels and tires back on too. After the brakes are adjusted, I'll get the wheels and tires on and this week. And let's see. The signal light lever is the bolts loose in that, or it's stripped, and that is flopping all over. So that's got to be taken care of in the column. So some column work. Boy, is this a rusty, nasty thing. I can make that part. Not a problem. I can hand make that piece of metal and weld that in. So that'll be a project for another day. But look at the rocker. I mean, the rocker and this thing just solid all the way down. No rust. You know, little crust on the paint, but that's nothing. I mean, it's good to go all the way to the quarter, and the rear quarter's just got a small little hole in it, so on both sides. So really not very concerned with all that at this point. Pretty happy with what I see. Pretty happy with my purchase. Under the hood. So we're going to end up with a tune-up. So plugs, points, condenser, maybe the cap, rotor, wires. They look like they're original to this car, so they're going to get done. I have one of these, a carb kit. I do have some other fun parts coming, which will be a surprise in the end of this. But other than that, that's where I'm going with stuff. I did manage to find a taillight assembly, or backup light assembly on eBay, and I got a really good one here, but it's only one. I need two, so I don't know what we're into for that. If I can save one of them out of the two, great. But they're pretty bad shape. So getting back to the car, let's see. I got a guy I bought the taillight from. He's got a headlight bezel up for sale on eBay too, so I just wrote him a letter. Oh, yeah, and that goofy part in the grill, fixed. I already did that. So I straightened the grill, and the reason it's funky is because the bezel got smoked by something. I do need to find that piece of hood trim. If somebody knows where I can find one, please, in the comments. Bend my ear. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk about on the underside of this whole thing? Basically, the exhaust just really upsets me, and I can't deal with that. So that's going to get fixed probably, oh, I suppose in April sometime. I'll take it in and get that done. And I'm a huge fan of MagnaFlow mufflers, so I'd like to see it go to MagnaFlows because they just sound so damn good. I'm okay with the glass backs too, if it's got to be a while. Oh, the other thing, as I mentioned before, that I had these on my Roadrunner years ago, but they're in really rough shape. I got to clean up the chrome, and that'll be another part of the next series of videos on this car. I've been in so much work in this shop, trying to get the shop remodeled. I've taken on bit off more than I can chew, and I just was talking to my buddy Jamie about the same thing, because that man's been working himself to the bone for months and months and months, then wonders why he gets sick. Yeah, wear yourself down, it's going to happen. But when you spin this, you hear that? Nothingness. So that's of concern. So, and I don't even like how the bearings sound. I would red flag that on a boat trailer in a heartbeat. So, and this one here, you can, yeah. So what's wrong with that picture? A lot. So we're going to go through a bunch of different things. This is going to evolve underneath here. The engine compartment's going to evolve. I've got some things planned for that. Basically, I just really want it running great. and kind of go from there with this old beast. And let's see, I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head, but boy, these are going to look so cool on this thing. Yum. Uni, Roy, and Al. Oh boy. Yeah, so there you go. I guess you'll see you in the next episode.